Hello, 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 everyone. Let's see. Hello. Hey, so my name is Brian, and I'm here from Symbaloo. For those of you joining us again that were here last week on last week's webinar, hello and welcome back. Um, Before we get started, I just want to let you know that we'll be waiting just a couple of minutes here to let those that may be running a little late or may just be logging onto their computers now, just give them the opportunity to join the webinar. So we'll get started in a bit. In the meantime, for those of you that are here, say hello. Say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're from, what you teach, what you do, how long you've been using Symbaloo. Let's see where everyone's from. Hi, Erin. You are an instructional technology specialist from San Antonio, Texas. Hello from Texas. Cynthia, hello. Fort Worth, Texas. Texas in the house, huh? Welcome, welcome. Looks like we have a couple more people trickling in. Just to let those that are here now, just to let you all know, these webinars are recorded and you can also reference these back at a later date. We'll be sending an email after the webinar within 24 hours of the webinar finishing. You'll have a link to the replay. You'll have some post-webinar resources. There will be a slide deck with everything that I covered today. So you can reference on your own time and maybe share with a colleague or two, share with your friends. So yeah, thank you all for joining. Looks like we may have a small crowd today, no problem. But let's actually go ahead and get into it. So for everyone here, thank you for joining. Thank you if you were here last week on last week's webinar. We covered the different type of accounts that we offer, how they differ from one another, and how to register for those accounts if you're new to Symbaloo. This week's webinar, today's webinar, we'll cover how to set up and navigate your accounts and how to get the best out of Symbaloo. So these webinars are meant to be short and sweet, probably about 30 minutes, excuse me. They're just a nice digestible way for you all to kind of see what we've got going on. And again, these will be recorded and hosted on our YouTube channel. And if you did register for the webinar here, you will be receiving an email after the webinar, probably within 24 hours with the video replay link, as well as a slide deck and some other resources to help you reference, on your own time there. And then one more thing before we get started, we will be doing a little Q&A session after the webinar. So if you do have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat and I'll go through at the end to answer any of your questions or concerns. So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to share my screen here to show you Symbaloo. All righty. So let's start with Symbaloo. So just a little recap. What is Symbaloo? And for those that are new to Symbaloo, Symbaloo helps keep your digital life in line. We help you to save, organize, and share your favorite links and resources in a single place using Symbaloo web mixes and tiles, along with our Symbaloo Pro web spaces, which we'll cover today. But we have a Symbaloo web mix, which is this nice little grid here, composed of these little squares called tiles. And these tiles host links to images, videos, websites, documents, anything with a shareable link you can store and create a little tile for. And then you can share everything via the share or publish buttons, depending on the type of account you have, with a single link. So it makes accessing and sharing these resources very easy. But again, in this webinar, I'll show you how to set up your accounts, both personal and pro accounts with web spaces, and I'll show you how to navigate these accounts to access the many helpful features Symbaloo has to offer. So let's get started with navigating your account here. So there are two different ways to navigate your accounts. We have the resource navigation bar on the left-hand side here. As you can see, there are a bunch of little icons, which I will dive into shortly. And we have the user navigation menu on the top right. If you click on that, you'll see a nice little menu appear here. Each option provides access to different areas and features for your Symbaloo accounts, and we'll cover those here. So let's start with the navigation bar on the left-hand side. From top to bottom, I'd like to mention the Symbaloo logo here. If you are, for example, on a different page, let me go to my subscription page. If you want to go home, that's a nice, quick and easy way to head back home to your Symbaloo account. So you just click the logo, boom, you're back home. Let's start with the notebook icon here. The notebook icon, the first one here, is the My Webmixes icon. If you click on that, you'll see any of the web mixes that you've created or have added to your Symbaloo account. So whether you're on a personal or a pro account, all of those web mixes will appear here. And yeah, you have access to all of that, along with some additional settings down at the bottom, such as adding a web mix, which will give you various options. You can navigate our Symbaloo gallery with a lot of publicly shared web mixes by other Symbaloo users, and you can use our Add a Web Mix with Quick Start. Again, this webinar here is just meant to show you where everything's sort of placed around the tool. Next week's webinar, we'll be diving into how to add, create, and really dig deep into the nitty-gritty of putting together your resources. So let's continue down the list here. Below the notebook icon, you have the Learning Paths icon. You have little Simon the Owl here. If you've connected Learning Paths, you'll see this little guy here. And if you click on that, you have access to your Learning Paths menu here. So any learning paths you've created or have added to your account, they'll appear here. And you have options to create a learning path, a little quick start button there. You have an access button to your learning paths dashboard, so an overview. You can access the marketplace, which is similar to the Symbaloo WebMix gallery, if you're familiar with that. And you can also disconnect learning paths if you no longer wish to use the tool. Below Symbaloo Learning Paths, you have access to any Symbaloo web spaces you've either added or are managing. So for example, this is my demo web space here, Mr. Brian's class. And you see that I have my web mixes and groups that I've created, which we'll discuss a little shortly down the line. And you have some menu options down at the bottom. But if you scroll down, as you see, I have multiple icons here. You'll see a basically a transparent little plus button here. You can add a public web space. So if you click on that, you have web spaces that are verified by Symbaloo from some of our ambassadors and different subjects. And we're consistently adding to these here. So you can see we have educator Alex. She's an award-winning multi-degree educator who has been in the educational field since 2002. You have access to some of the resources that she loves, some of her favorite tools, along with Mr. Cook here, who has a great YouTube channel, and other web spaces. And these you can simply click to follow. So now that web space has been added to my account. And I do apologize, it looks like my internet may be loading a little slow here. But now the web space is on the left-hand side for me to access whenever I want to, check any of his resources, if I want to stay up to date with him and the things he's doing. So that is all about the resource navigation bar on the left-hand side. Now, let me go back to my homepage here, and we'll talk about your web mixes here. So as you saw, we have the web mixes that you've created and added. Those will appear here on the left-hand side within the My Web Mixes menu. Sorry, this is just a little bit of a recap. You have the web space icons on the left-hand side, along with a little button to follow any web spaces that we have verified. Let's talk about where your web mixes lie up at the top. So if you see here, we've recently updated the look of Symbaloo, and we have a new little header. We've actually moved the web mix tabs from the bottom here up to the header, so it looks a little cleaner. These are any of the web mixes that you have within your account. You can quickly access these, and you can also hide these web mixes. So if you click the little X in the tab there, it'll just hide it. It won't delete the web mix. And you can always access those again within your My Webmixes menu on the left-hand side. So you see anything that I've removed, such as the work webmix I had, was still visible here, and I can always bring it back if I decide to do so. Now we have webmix settings. Now these are some nice little settings. If you click on that, this will allow you to edit your webmixes, such as renaming your webmix, changing your wallpapers, adding a little setting to the accessing the settings to your tabs there. You can change the colors, add some little icons, and personalize it a little more, along with other features down at the bottom, such as resizing and making the webmix transparent there. So little personalization features. Moving over to the right, we have a couple of other options. If you're new to Symbaloo, you'll see a little helping hand icon there that will say get started. That little icon will activate a wizard that will show you around your account, kind of highlighting some of the main features for you to quickly get started and get acquainted with your account. But on the right side, you'll see a little magnifying glass, which is the search icon. And this little icon allows you to quickly search webmixes, tiles, or profiles within Symbaloo here. To the right of that, you have a little Symbaloo inbox, which displays any alerts. So any messages from Symbaloo, whether you have, need to verify your email address or things like that, you'll have some little alerts appear there within the inbox. And moving on to the user navigation menu on the far right, if you click on your user icon here, you'll then see the menu. And clicking the user icon there, you'll have options such as your profile. So you can access your profile to make edits. You can view your account preferences, view your Symbaloo Pro subscriptions if you've added a Symbaloo Pro web space. So if you are on a personal account without a web space, this little button will actually say open a new Pro web space. So just keep an eye out for that if you're looking to upgrade your account. You have access to the Symbaloo Gallery, which is a nice little database full of tons of publicly shared webmixes and resources by other Symbaloo users. So it's a great way to get started there. You have access to Symbaloo Learning Paths, and you can join a group with an access code if you are creating groups. So if you see on my Pro web space, I have a couple of groups here for my staff, and then after school resources, there's a little pin here. Symbaloo users that access these groups do need to have a Symbaloo account, and that's what that little button here is for, join group with an access code. And then you can sign out of your account. But let's go through each of these and dig deep into what each of these offers. So we'll start with my profile. Now, your profile, you want to set this up so that if you do share resources, maybe your students or your colleagues know where the resources are from, maybe adding a little bit about you, where you're from, what you do, what you teach, and a little background. You also have a little bit of some statistics down here regarding how many webmixes you've published and shared, how many followers, and so forth, along with a few recommended or actually published web spaces that I've shared. So that is what the profile overview looks like. If you do want to edit your profile, simply click on the Edit Profile button on the far right at the top. And here, again, you can change your personal details. So add a little about me, change your profession or your job title, where you're from, that type of information. And you can also upload a custom image, as well as create an avatar. We have a new little feature where you can customize your character here, and you can, get creative with it. Add some hair, add some color, add some glasses. And when you're ready, you'll simply click Update Profile Image. Now let's go into your account preferences. So on the left-hand side, you have a list of different Symbaloo settings and preferences here. The first one, the preference section, allows you to change or choose your center box. So these are the center boxes that lie within your Symbaloo webmixes. So if I go back to my Symbaloo account, let's click on school resources here. We have the Yahoo center box. I'll navigate back to my preferences. And let's say I want a Symbaloo Safe Search feature. This is a custom center box that was built by Symbaloo to offer a safe search mechanism there for your students. So it is filtered, so that way, you can avoid your students searching for things that may be explicit or things that may not be suitable for them. And you'll see here that the center box has then changed. So this is a great feature to use if you have younger students and you don't want them searching the entire web. There are a bunch of parameters built within this here. Let me head back in here. And again, you have a couple of other options. So you have center box settings, remembering your last search, clearing your search, and so forth. You can also determine whether you want to open up any tiles that you click on in a new browser tab or the current tab, meaning it'll open up, it'll just take over the page here. And you can choose your start web mix here. So moving on to account settings, you have the option to update your name. We've gotten various questions. Sometimes, a school admin is working with an account and want to delete or remove it, and they want to transfer it. You can simply come in here, update the contact information if you want to transfer it to a colleague, change the email address, save the changes, and you can have them either reset the password then, or you can change the password and provide a temporary one for them. So these are a couple of fields that you can use. Down below, we have subscriptions. Again, if you are on a Symbaloo Pro WebSpace account, you have an overview of your subscriptions. And this will provide, options to either open up a new web space if you want to manage multiple web spaces, or you can access your subscription and billing pages as well as the web space dashboards. Below the subscriptions page, you have notifications. These are switches where you can toggle on to receive Symbaloo updates via email. You can toggle them off if you don't want to receive any, but you can also receive alerts when you receive a new follower or have any webmix updates that you may be following. So don't forget to click Save Changes when you're done there. Down at the bottom, we have Bookmark Importer. So if you have any, browser tabs, maybe saved bookmarks within your browser, Chrome, you can export those as CSV files or a bookmark file, such as within Safari. And you can actually choose the file and import it here. And it'll import all of those links and add them to a webmix or two, depending on how many you have. And then you can just go ahead and organize and continue working on those, getting them ready to share. Below the bookmarker, the bookmark importer feature, you have a social sign-in feature where you can connect a social account or accounts such as Clever or ClassLink to log into your accounts with. You'll do that here. If you do authorize access to these, you can actually revoke access at your time. So if you don't want to log in with these accounts anymore, or let's say your school moves away from it, you can log in with an email and password as you would normally. And down below that, you have the little overview where these social sign-in options would appear. So you can revoke access to those, such as the bookmarker, the lesson plans, or the learning paths. That's a little outdated, but we have browser extensions as well, such as a quick bookmark ad, where if you're surfing the web, you can then just quickly click a little extension up at the top, and it'll add that website to your web mix. So these are a few different features here. Now, for those that are, again, on a regular personal account and not on a pro WebSpace account, you'll simply click that user icon here if you do want to upgrade, and that Symbaloo Pro Subscriptions button here will appear as Open a New Pro WebSpace. You'll simply click on that and then follow the procedure to create your WebSpace. You can refer to last week's video on how to register for an account. The process is pretty straightforward. But one thing to note is web spaces are, you can upgrade them, you can add more, you can also downgrade or even remove these. And one thing that I'd like to clarify is these are almost extensions. You can remove these without actually losing any of your content. So if you're using a free account, or if you're using a paid or a free web space or a paid web space, you can actually remove those and your web mixes will stay intact, as again, those lie within the My Web Mixes section here. And these are just simply extensions. Just wanted to mention that. Okay, let's go down to the Symbaloo gallery. Let me show you what that looks like. So within the user navigation menu, we'll click on Symbaloo Gallery. Now, the Symbaloo Gallery, again, is a large database of publicly shared web mixes. These are all resources that have been shared by other Symbaloo users. And you'll see within the initial page, you have a search field with some filters that you can use to help narrow your search. And then you have some recommended web mixes here, such as Boone 5th and 6th web mix. That's probably a school there. Rockfield Elementary, Future Ready Librarians, so forth. What you can do is also do a keyword search, such as math, or you can type in, Mr. Bryan's class and search web mixes that way. So let's do math and show you what that looks like. If we type in math, you'll see down at the bottom, it'll show you how many are being displayed along with the results. So you'll see a little overview. Just like filling in your profile, when you create a web mix and share it, and if you do want to share it publicly, it'll give you the option to add a little description, just so others have an idea of what you're sharing. Now, the Symbaloo Web Mix Gallery is a great place for new users and even those that are, avidly using Symbaloo to save time and find inspiration. So, for example, let's go to this MATLAB web mix. If we click on one of those web mixes, you'll see a preview link here. This is the preview page for that specific web mix. And it gives you a little bit of information on, the creator, how many users are following the creator there, and some keywords that they've added. Again, this is a wonderful place to more so test out, these resources. Hey, let's see what this website looks like. Cool. This looks like something that I'd want to share with my math kids. And again, if you want to add this to your account, you can simply click Add this web mix, and it'll add a copy to your account. And these web mixes, again, once you've added them, by default, you're following or are subscribed to that user's web mix. So you can't delete or tamper with any of these. You can simply just follow them. But you can save some time and use this as a template. For example, you like 90% of these tiles. You'll click on that following button there. There's kind of a hard to see button here that says Stop Updates and Enable Editing. And if you click on that, it'll unlock it, and it'll now give you the option to move tiles around, delete them, create some groups, and more. So now you have your own little template, saves you some time. And when you're ready, you click that share button at the top, and your web mix has been shared. You can click on that button once again to open up the menu. You have additional share options such as copying the link, some social sharing, distributing through Google Classroom, or if you want to just stop sharing altogether, you can do so. And you'll see a little prompt down here. But again, you can hide or delete those. Now, let's go down the list here some more. Below the gallery, we have Symbaloo Learning Paths. So if you click on that, it'll take you to the Learning Paths landing page. This landing page, you can learn a little bit about Symbaloo Learning Paths, what they're all about. This is a great digital lesson that you can create built on the concept of web mixes with the tiles, except now you have a tile sequenced assignment there with built-in analytics, so you can assess your students in real time. You'll see here some real-time statistics here, how many current active users are working through the assignment, and then a breakdown of that of their progress. So this is a free tool for you to use. You can access that, and we do have mobile application viewers for your students to access and work through on tablets or iPads. And yeah, so if you haven't connected that, you can go ahead and click on Create Fun and Interactive Learning Paths. You want to allow access to that. And then once you've allowed access, it'll take you to your Learning Paths dashboard. And this will show you any of the open assignments you have that are currently being worked on by your students. And it'll show you again the current active users, a little breakdown there. And then again, these are the learning paths that you have. We won't get into how to create or edit these, but there will be a link in the slide deck for the learning paths manual here. So it'll take you to this page here where you can actually just go through. It'll show you how to create, share, and discover new learning paths. So use that link, share it with your friends, share the slide deck, and learn how to use Symbaloo learning paths. They're a lot of fun, and students really love them. They're very engaging and interactive. One more thing I do want to mention is, let me head back home here. When you are on your home page, if you click on Simon the Owl, this will be how you then access your Learning Paths account. Looks like something happened here. But you'll see the active learning paths on the left-hand side. Let me disconnect it. And then we'll access it one more time just to show you. Simply learning paths, connect, and let's see. Goodness. Okay, well, you'll see your active learning paths here. So these on the list here on the right will appear on the left, just like your web mixes will. You'll have access to creating a learning path, so a quick start button there. The overview page, which is this dashboard here. You have access to the marketplace, and you can disconnect learning paths. And I'll show you the marketplace real quick. That will be like the Symbaloo WebMix gallery with publicly shared learning paths. So you can also use these as templates, save some time, and kind of find inspiration on what others are doing with Symbaloo learning paths. You have some filters such as elementary, middle, and high school. We'll click on a couple of these just to browse it real quick and show you what it looks like. So the results page also gives you some like a quick little overview. If the creator has added like an expected duration for the assignment, this one will take students 10 minutes, 110 minutes. And as you can see, we have different languages here. So you can use these as a ESL or, if you're teaching your students Spanish, these might be some great resources for you to utilize there. So let's click on finding poems. And what this does is if you click on any of the tabs here, it'll take you to an overview such as the WebMix preview page with some information, if they've added objectives, if they've added any information such as how many questions and steps, the duration, the creator, and so forth. And you can add these to your account and try the learning path. So very similar to WebMixes. For now, we will go back home. And now I'll dig deeper into Symbaloo web spaces. So if you've added a Symbaloo Pro web space, again, you'll notice that, if you click on your user menu, you have the Symbaloo Pro subscriptions tab there. And on the left-hand side within the resource navigation bar, you'll have your web spaces appear here. So my personal web space is this little green one here for Mr. Bryan's class. And again, these are the icons for your web spaces. So clicking on those icons will pull up the web space menu. You'll see which web spaces or which web mixes, you have published there. So the difference between sharing and publishing is this here. So if you click on the share button as I did in the past, that'll share the web mix via an individual link. So for example, I've copied that link to my clipboard. I'll paste it in an empty tab. And that share link takes me directly to a WebMix preview link for that individual WebMix. Now, if you are on a Symbaloo Pro web space, which will give you a custom domain for the paid accounts, or just it'll be yourname.symbaloo.com, you can publish your resources there. Now, for example, I have, Classroom WebMix Math and AP Biology published here along with a couple of groups. If I click on these just to view them, you'll see at the top, I have my custom domain, mrbryansclass.symbaloo.com. Now, that is the link that will differentiate the page you're on. So right now I'm viewing my Symbaloo Pro web space, and I'm viewing all of the web mixes that I've published there versus sharing individually for the private preview web mix link there. And I have access to the groups that I've created as well. And if I go back here, we have this Publish To button at the top. If I click on that, that'll take me to this new advanced publishing view. So when you're new to Symbaloo Pro with web spaces, you'll have a little overview of what this page does. So you can publish to your web space, and it'll tell you how to publish a web mix to your web space. You can simply drag and drop from the left-hand side to the right side, and it'll publish it there with ease. You can also republish your updates and unpublish a web mix. And I'll show you what that looks like. So for example, if I wanted to publish the starter kit for Symbaloo, I'll simply click and drag from my web mixes, and I'll publish it. I'll drag it here. Let's put it at the top. And that'll appear left to right within my Pro web space there. So when my students visit mrbryansclass.symbaloo.com, they'll have access to these publicly shared or publicly published web mixes. If I make any changes to any of these web mixes, for example, add a tile or makes some customizations to my tiles, I want to republish those changes. So we'll click on one of this little refresh icon there, And you'll see here that the web mix has then been republished. That'll basically push out a new timestamp copy of those changes that I've made. So anything that lives on your Pro web space will be a timestamp copy of those resources that you've added. So you want to make sure you push those changes out so that your students see the current resources that you want them to see. And if you do want to unpublish or remove a web mix from your Pro web space, down at the bottom of the menu here, you have unpublished web mixes. Now, if I click on that, you'll see these little stars appear. You can simply click the star on the right side, and that'll remove that web mix. Now, this is great because this offers, a way to differentiate the content that you share. So if you have that a set of web mixes that you want your students to see, such as classroom, math, and your AP Bio web mixes, they'll be able to see those. But whenever I remove anything from my Pro web space, those will only be visible on the left-hand side of my account here within my web spaces, or my web mixes, I'm sorry. So again, those are private to you as the admin and will not be visible to your students. So if I head back, I can click on my web mixes, head back to my account, and I can see again, within my web mixes, all the web mixes that I've created, but within my web space, I have the web mixes that I've published publicly there. So this is all that will be visible to my students minus the private groups. These again will need to be accessed via an access code and the user needs an account there. Let's go down to the web space menu. So we just discussed the advanced publishing view here. You click that. If you do want to add users and groups, you can use these buttons here. I won't get into that, but we'll talk about the web space dashboard. Now, the web space dashboard is a new feature for Symbaloo, which gives you a great overview of your Symbaloo Pro web space subscriptions. And this is whether you're free on a free account or whether you're paying for a Symbaloo Pro web space. You have access to the details here. So you'll find your custom domain, when you started the subscription or created your account, along with the expiration date. And it'll tell you the type of plan you're on. So you're currently on an annual subscription. On the right-hand side, you have an option, a little box, which allows you to renew your subscription and gives you a little drop-down menu here. So you can renew for 1 or 2 years, or you can switch to a monthly subscription if you are on a classroom teacher version here. So the teacher version will be $5 a month or $49 a year. So you'll save a little bit of money if you pay upfront for the year. On the right-hand side, you have an option to manage your invoices. If you have any open invoices, whether they've been paid or not, you can actually access just the overview. Below that, you have a little button to customize your web space. So for example, if I click on this, on the top left-hand side, you see the Symbaloo logo. If you are sharing or setting the custom domain for your Pro web space as a start page for all of your student devices, you may want to customize it or upload a logo. So for example, I have Mr. Brian's class, you can have your school logo on there, and you can also upload a new touch icon. And this is for, iPad or tablet users. You can create a little app icon on the homepage and they can simply click on that and it'll take them directly to your Pro web space. So you can make those changes. You can choose the center widget or the center box for your Pro web space, and you want to save your settings when you're done. But that's what this does here. And you have additional features within your Pro web space, such as IP blocking, web filtering, authentication, and SIS integration features, but we won't dig into those. I'll head back to the web space dashboard just to show you a little bit of some more important features here. You have your usage. Depending on the type of account here, think of this as like a cell phone plan. You have a data cap. That is how Symbaloo Pro web space are charged. So it'll give you certain plan limit, and you can view those by clicking this blue button here. I'll open it just to quickly show you. It'll take you to an article explaining the usage caps for each account type. So the classroom, library, school, district, and we also do custom accounts if needed. So you can dig deep into that if you want to find out more. To the right of the usage, you'll see how many days are left until your plan resets here. So it'll be on a monthly basis. And this little box will just show you a couple of news, some quotes, some statements, some tips, tricks. You can just keep an eye on that. Down at the bottom, we have the overview for your WebSpace users. So you can add, again, your users here. You'll see who you've added. To the right of that, we have a new feature, which is a child safe mode. And what this does, I'll click on the link here and explain what this does. This is a very good feature for those of you that may be working with younger kids and using a free Symbloo account that displays ads. You can take a look at this, but child safe mode disables a few features such as sign up, login, the WebSpace sidebar, and behavioral advertising will be on pro free web spaces. So this will more so align with the COPPA or COPPA compliance there to ensure that your students are working within a safe and suitable environment in regards to advertising and features. They don't have to log in. They don't need an email address to access those resources, but you can find out more there. We have another option, whether you want to require a login, you can toggle these switches on or off. We have the IP blocking feature here and a web filtering feature. So you can toggle those on and create some web filters or block certain IP addresses there. And lastly, again, I just want to clarify the differences between your Symbloo homepage and Symbloo Pro, just to leave you without any confusion. So when you log into Symbloo, you'll see the homepage here with your web mixes. You'll look at the top and you'll see the address bar that just says symbloo.com or www.symbloo.com. This is how you know you are on your homepage. Think of this as your command center. This is where you will be able to edit, your web mixes immediately, make your changes, access the settings and so forth. And if you are in a pro web space, for example, if I access mine and I want to check out my resources, I'll click Classroom Web Mix there. I'll see that I'm now on mrbryansclass.symbloo.com. So this is the difference now being on your pro web space versus your home page with all of your web mixes. You will also see the settings buttons at the top have changed. So you'll see it'll have an edit web mix button, which will then actually take you back to your home page. You'll still have the share links, and this update changes button will be the republish button that you saw within the advanced publishing feature. So if I just shared this yesterday, but I've rearranged my tiles or added a few more resources, I'll want to click that update changes button to push those changes out to my pro web space for my students to see the current resources. Again, you'll also see different web mixes here. These again are the publicly shared or publicly published web mixes that will appear within your custom domain. So we have classroom, math, and AP biology. And I can either go back to my home page by accessing my web mixes and clicking on any of the web mixes here. Or if I want to make the change to this specific web mix, we'll take a look at the web mixes and the folder here at the top. Click on that, and you'll see that I have a different set of resources here. So again, these are web mixes that are visible within my end as an admin. School resources has been publicly published within my web space domain, but the work web mix and classroom web mix have not. So I'm only able to view these resources here. So whenever you're ready, you'll simply click publish, and then I can toggle this little switch on or off. I want that only visible to myself, or I want this publicly shared on my web space for my students to see. And you can access the Advanced Publishing Manager here, the sharing feature. But that is it. That will wrap up today's webinar. Went a little over 30 minutes, but thank you all for joining. Let me go ahead and jump into the chat to see if anyone has any questions. Let's go down here. I'll stop sharing my screen. Okay, so we have, yes, Omri, you asked if you get a certificate of participation. Yes, so for anyone joining us today, we do also offer a PD certificate of attendance that you can submit to get your hours there. So feel free to reach out to us and we will send you a form to submit so that you can get your certificate of attendance. Actually, we will just add that in the chat. So you can go ahead and take a look at the chat right now. And you can click the form, submit your information, and you'll get a certificate of attendance emailed to you. Hopefully that answers your question there. Oh, you have another question. Where do you find the recording? Yes, so you'll receive an email with the replay link here within the next 24 hours. Take a look for that, or you can also visit our SimBlue YouTube channel. And the video will be hosted on there shortly after here when we end this webinar. So yeah, keep an eye out for that, or keep an eye out for the email, and you'll receive that. Margaret, you are asking. Oh, Margaret is speaking to Cynthia. Okay. If you really want to create a SimBlue account, yeah, check out the email. Keep an eye out for the email. If you did register here, you'll get some slide decks to help you. We have last week's webinar, which shows you how to register for an account, kind of walking you step by step. You can visit our SimBlue YouTube channel to quickly access that video there. It's already hosted on there, so you can take a look at that there. And yeah, again, if you are looking for a certificate of attendance, please go ahead and fill out the form that is shared in the chat by SimBlue here. And if you do have any questions, feel free to email us at feedbackus@simblue.com, or you can visit our support desk at enhelp.simblue.com, enhelp.simblue.com. And you'll have access to some support articles as well as a page to submit a ticket if you ever run into any trouble. So yeah, take a look at that. Alrighty, well, thank you all for joining. I appreciate your time. And again, we hope to help you out soon. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for your time and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.